Alright, welcome to this new series, Diet. I don't know if this series is going to get a whole lot of episodes, but I thought it's different enough from everything else that I should make a new series about it. Best thing I could think of to call it other than Diet was just toss it under vlogs, since vlogs just seems to be just kind of I don't know what to call this, so it's going to be a vlog, and I'm trying to avoid that. I'm trying to make vlogs more about current events within my own experience and updates about the channel. Anyways, so, new series, Diet. It'll get at least some episodes. Also, you might notice in comparison to other videos, this has worse audio. I do still have my audio figured out, but formerly it was coming from my camera, which is why you wouldn't be able to hear me at all right now. But this little stream here, well, I don't even know what this is. Anyway, it's a concrete structure which makes sure that a stream doesn't, or a creek or whatever they want to call it, doesn't chew up the landscape too much, since I know creeks especially can just completely change. Like, can be just blocks away in like 3 years if it's rainy enough. So yeah. Anyways, because I have my audio worked out, I can actually record here, but it'll be a little less great because you're still going to hear the constant sound of the rushing. Okay, well, it's not exactly rapids, but you're going to hear the constant sound of water. So I have to talk a little bit more loudly, and it's still not going to come out as great, but I like the interesting location. Usually this place just wouldn't be able to work because it's usually flooding this time of year, so and it's not today. It might look intense, but it's honestly at like half mass in terms of what I've seen this thing at. Although it does get calm at some points, and I haven't really checked here during winter, but I'm pretty sure it would freeze pretty well. In this first series, in this new series, I'd like to, honestly, the title should kind of give it away, but I'd like to, go over different, generalized dietary options, I suppose, and why I think they're good or bad. On this first episode, I'll be talking about the different kinds of vegetarians and vegans, and then after this, in the next episode, you'll be able to tell when the video actually comes out, and I usually don't like to give away the titles of these things, but this series is like 18th on my priority list. I'm sorry if this is like if it turns out to be your favorite series, but like, I don't know how. I have like 5 things to talk about, and then I just have no idea about episodes about this. I'm not exactly someone who thinks a whole lot about diets, other than like looking into them once in a while, and then after like a half hour finding out that they're very much not for me. Anyways, so in the first episode, I'll be talking about the different kinds of vegetarianism as a brief overview. In the next episode, I will start in with the actual diets. In talking about one specifically and why it's good or bad. Anyways, so in this episode, vegetarianism. In the next one, it'll be the Atkins diet, which you may have heard of or may not. I'll also try and, in this episode, it might be a little longer, explain my own dietary weirdness as best I can. I'll go over it a little bit in each episode, but I think in this initial one, I should give an overview of, in relation to the generalized vegetarians, what I am. So, I should note that I'm going over I don't know if it's exactly the greatest of sources, but I don't know. I've never really been one of those people where it's like, oh, it's not a .org or .gov, it's a horrible source. I admit freely that I use Wikipedia not only as because I'm lazy, although that is a true factor, but because I actually believe in the larger ability of mankind to not spread false information, at least on a wide scale. There might be individuals who are plenty willing, but as a group, when we have something like Wikipedia, we tend to put out decent information. And so, anyways, I'm going off of something called the Veg Blog, to give credit where credit is due. And the actual article here is written by someone I can't tell. It's the classification of vegetarians. It was written on October 26th, 2004. So it's not exactly the most modern thing. I'm sure there's 100 extra classifications, but it seems like this is generally a conservative overview of the general categories, which is more or less what I want to do. So for this first 5 minutes in, so I've been able to keep it under my explanations for the first episode, my limit there, which was like 5.5 minutes. So the first category, which is the 4 most common types of vegetarians. It has the first one here as the lacto-ovo vegetarians, which don't eat beef, poultry, which is lamb, and things, horticulture animals, or not, maybe horticulture is something else. The kind of animals that you wouldn't be surprised to see on a farm, even if they're not necessarily cows or chickens. Or maybe poultry is chickens. Whatever, farm animals, basically, or fish. So they don't eat beef, farm animals, or fish. They do eat eggs and dairy products. And then similarly, instead of lacto-ovo, there's lacto-vegetarians, which consume dairy, which consume all of those things except they don't consume eggs, but they do consume dairy. And then there's also just ovo, dropping the lacto-vegetarians, who don't consume dairy at all, but I suppose that implies do consume eggs. I don't know if eggs count as dairy. No, they're chickens. Okay, I think dairy has to come from a cow. All right. The next category is straight vegans. It just calls them vegans, but anyways, I use the term straight as a baseline, meaning sort of how the school system's grade levels, you could call it A, B, C, D, and then A minus, B minus, C minus, D minus, and then also A plus, B plus, etc. I call that just flat A as A flat, so that, well, that's what it, like I said, I call it A flat just so that, and B flat and C flat, etc., just so that you understand it's not plus or minus, it is the neutral standpoint. Anyways, just to clarify that I'm not talking about the heterosexuality of vegans. Vegans, which, of course, by nature, consume no animal products at all, if they can help it. There's also what this blog considers strict vegetarians, which is people who won't consume any animal products or any animal-killed products at all, but or animal byproducts, but will use animal products in their lives without consuming them. So I suppose that would count as I don't know. I don't know if vegans go to this extent, but if you want to stick strictly to this, I suppose you could say that if you wear a wool shirt, you're not a vegan anymore. You're a strict vegetarian. Anyways, so the next is what it calls the restrictive subcategories of veganism. Oh, I understand this. These are the people who go a step further than veganism. And these are the ones you often hear about, like that. I think it was a joke. I forgot what show I saw this on, but it was the people who just lie on the, or maybe it was just people talking. And it is the people who lie on the floor and only eat what I remember. Yeah, it was from a show. I think it was from Parks and Rec. Anyways, it was the people who just lie on the floor and only eat what falls into their mouths. So, anyways, this is that category, except these are a little more realistic than that. Not much, but they are a little more. It's, well, I don't recommend doing any of these for any long period of time, and you'll be able to tell why. So the fruitarians eat raw fruit and seeds only. Okay, that's not a, I mean, I suppose if you're able to eat like iron tablets and multivitamins, you'll probably do at least close to okay. I don't know if that would count as unacceptable within their dietary structure. Almost said the word scripture there. I hope these guys aren't religious about this diet. I think cheating would almost be healthy in this case. So, then there's also the raw living foodists, who eat at least 75% uncooked, although it may be heated up to 110 degrees, unprocessed organic fruits and vegetables. Okay, yeah, and I think I heard about this. There might be a comment actually at the end of this. Yeah, there is. At the end of this blog post, I guess, there's a comment which prefaces the fact that these guys also might be doing this for a religious reason, because that's how they believe Jesus might have eaten. Anyways, so that one seems weird, but within the range of normalcy if you consider it as a religious thing, which gives you a certain level of acceptable weirdness. Anyway, so the classifications, and this is where it really comes in for what I do, the classifications of vegetarians, as it says, that aren't really vegetarians, which I suppose I can admit. If the other one was vegetarians who go further, this is I prefer to think of it as vegetarians being sort of in the middle of people who restrict what they eat, and on the one end you get the people who go further, like the people who, like the fruitarians, who only eat fruit and seeds, and then on the other end you get the people who go halfway or something, which is this next category. Alright, first thing, it goes over some of the big ones and leaves out what I'm about to talk about. Anyways, the pesco-vegetarians, I've also heard this as the pescatarians, though I think that might sound a little bit too close to a religious order. So anyways, the pesco-vegetarians, which eat no beef or farm animals, but do eat fish. And these are, as I have seen, the I'm a vegetarian but fish doesn't count people, the cheaters. It's whatever. I just don't think you should. I don't think calling yourself a vegetarian is really a point of pride. It's just a dietary choice. So there's no point in I've seen people get angry when you might say to them, but you're not a vegetarian, you just picked out a kind of meat, fish in this case, that you can still eat. And I've seen people get angry to that comment. Anyways, I've got my problems with the pesco-vegetarians, in case you couldn't tell. Anyways, there's also the polo-vegetarians, who eat no fish but do eat poultry, so I guess that means they eat farm animals, or they do eat fish, or no, they eat chicken. I'm pretty sure poultry actually means chicken here. So anyways, they eat chicken. I haven't had many interactions with these guys, but I think people in this country, or region, I guess, North America and Europe anyways, if you eat chicken, you're not really gonna call yourself off as a vegetarian still, because that just means you're picky about the kinds of meat you eat, considering half of the meat we eat is basically chicken. Yeah, you don't see Jewish people calling themselves vegetarian because they don't eat pork. Anyways, and then there's what this calls the semi-vegetarians, or flexitarians, which eat less meat than the average. It seems a bit sarcastic about these people, but whatever, it's a vegetarian blog, I can't really blame them. And this is actually a category which I fall into. These are the people who eat meat, but then try to cut down on it in comparison to other foods, compared to the average, is what I've heard it as. This blog seems a bit suspicious about who eat less meat compared. They point out, like, compared to what? Well, I can compare it to the average. Think about how many meat products, and even little meat products, the average person intakes, and cut that in half. That's generally what I view as semi-vegetarian as, and myself included. I am also, you can't expect this little blog post to view every little subcategory here, but I'm also I considered myself an anti-pescatarian, but I do like pesco-vegetarian, because anti-pescatarian kind of sounds like a certain specific genre of anti-theist, which is kind of not a pleasant thing to go around saying you are. People might get mishear. Anyways, so I guess I am an anti-pesco vegetarian. Anti-pesco vegetarian. That doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, but it's close enough. Anyways, I eat beef, I eat poultry, and I eat other farm animals, although not really that much. I try to avoid things like turkey and lamb. But what I do eat, or what I do not eat, is fish. There doesn't seem to be a lot of people like me out there, which is kind of unfortunate. But for whatever reason, fish is kind of taken as a universal. I would say in more Western cultures, but I'd be wrong. You can consider more Asian cultures and the crazy uses of fish, like for one main thing that Europe and North America have really adapted to well is sushi, which just the concept does not make my mouth salivate or whatever happens when you're supposed to really hear about a delectable food item. Raw fish. Anyways, and that wasn't a yum. That was a I don't want to puke, so I better stop thinking about this. Anyways, so there seems to be. That's one problem that's going to come up in this series. Also, when I bring up the Atkins diet, is that all these diets that I'm going to go over, at least the vast majority of them, besides straight veganism, seem to generally rely on the fact that you can eat seafood, which is generally what I avoid. It seems to just act as if you're perfectly fine with seafood, which is understandable. It's very different than land meat, but still, I understand. I think for instance, in the case of the Atkins diet, I'm pretty sure fish is very low in protein, which, or no, it's very low in fat, it's very high in protein, which is what the Atkins diet is all about. So anyways, I'll talk about it in the Atkins diet, that specifics, but anyways, I'm an anti-pesco vegetarian. In that I avoid seafood, but the common meats I only avoid a little bit, so I'm a anti-pesco. All right, I'm a anti-pesco semi-vegetarian. So, or actually, it calls it a flexitarian. So I'm a anti-pesco flexitarian. All right. Well, at least that doesn't mean anything else. That's a well-defined thing, even if it doesn't make much, even if it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue in any sense of the imagination. All right, so I hope this new series goes over well. It seems to be, it's the kind of thing where I was thinking about it, and I thought, oh, I should make a video about this, but then I thought, like, oh, but what series does this actually fit under? And I realized none of them. Like, politics, maybe. I don't know if diet actually counts as a political choice, or at least it shouldn't be. So I guess I could call it, well, I know for some religions it counts as, or it counts as a religious thing, so I could put it under philosophy, or maybe a new theology show, who knows. But anyways, I thought I would make a new series for this. I thought it would fit more well. And there is a couple of episodes that'll come out for this. I don't want to totally degrade it, but don't expect this one to be by any means a everyday or well, none of the series are every day, but don't expect any of this one to be a ordered one, just like a little gem that'll come out once in a while. But then I guess that's sort of all of them. And that's the way I like it in this channel. If you don't like it, there's millions, maybe hundreds of millions of other channels at this point to go to. So yeah, enjoy the generalized outro.